Welcome to another episode of Aquí Entre Nos podcast. First of all, I'd like to thank God for giving us the opportunity of being here once more. Thank you to all of you who take the time to listen to our podcast. Thank to our community. Thank you as well to the chambers, Washington County Chambers of Commerce, for sharing this idea with us or being with us in this
Adventure.
adventure. Thank you to Yohana Parra for being our producer. Thank you to Ernesto and Eliora Studios for being behind the cámaras. We know how hard that is, Ernesto. So thank you very much. Thank you to everyone out there. And
Xiomara today was like thankful because we are recording just 4 days after Thanksgiving. So she keep all her things for today. But today we have a guest that it is being a fighter. It is being an example of the Latino community. He is developed his career throughout nonprofit organizations, throughout enterprises like a big enterprise like PGE, and now he's representing us in the city. And he's a man. He is a fighter. He is a neighbor, but especially he is interested on the future of Hillsboro. Welcome today to Christian Salgado.
Well,
welcome, Christian.
thank you very much. Thank you for that wonderful intro. I was like, definitely pumps me up for this conversation.
cool.
Yeah, no, and
That's
this is my
indeed.
first couple of things, my first podcast. So, bear with me. And also, I just want to say that I'm not here to represent the city of Hillsboro. I'm here on my own behalf. So anything I say is my own thoughts and not representative of the city. So I just want to make sure that that I say that out loud.
All right,
Oh,
now I
thank
can put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was reading the bio that you sent,
Uh-huh.
and I get entangled by the music that you hear. And then
Yeah.
I am a musician,
Okay.
and then I see that you like everything from Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart to Idilio,
Yeah.
the Willy Colón, huh?
Willie Colon. Oh, yeah. One of my favorite songs is Dia de mi suerte.
Oh, ¿cuándo
Oh.
llegará? Eso es
Pronto llegará
una
el
murga,
día
eso.
de mi suerte.
Uh-huh.
That's a Panamanian song. That's very cool, and it is very interesting because that's exactly what we are. We are like so diverse,
Yeah.
and that diversity can be shown through music. It can be shown through food, and I don't know how you see it, but I think that that diversity actually enrich us
Yes.
and make us a better place to live.
It does.
What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll share something that I just shared with some students at the University of Oregon recently. I was invited to speak on a panel. It's called Latino Voices in Action. And one of the things that I keep hearing that's very common from leaders within these groups is, we often struggle with this question of identity
Mhm.
as Latinos, right? Because we grow up in our household with our home culture, with our parents and our language and our food and our customs. But then when we're out in school or in work, it's a different culture, right? So you end up essentially growing up in two different cultures. And the question at that age, right, in high school and college is like, well,
Where do I belong?
where do I belong? Where do I land? And really, the message that I gave is like, you belong in both, right?
Yeah.
Throughout history, that's what's happened. Is people from different cultures come together, and you create kind of a new culture, right? So really, our story here as Latinos in the U.S. is creating history, really, because we're creating a new culture, right? We're listening to country and rancheras and
Yeah.
reggaeton and
we're
hip
not
hop.
forgetting where we come from. We're
Exactly.
not leaving our ancestors behind.
But at the same
Yeah.
at the same time, we are having our sight in the future.
Yes.
So that's cool because our sons and daughter they listen everything under
Yeah.
the song. They listen.
Especially nowadays,
Yeah.
the Mexican
So
culture or Latino
the other day,
culture
the older
has
comes
just
and says like, "Hey, Dad, have you heard this band Metallica?" Like, dude, I was like, oh, I was
Yeah.
like young when they were old. How are you gonna come
Yeah,
here?
you were like mosh pitting before he was born. Yeah, and so I like talking about. I love music, so that's what I use to like as an analogy for culture. Right, is the
Mhm.
different types of music. Obviously, we're a lot deeper than music. right? But
Yeah.
music is a good way to kind of describe the mix of cultures
And
and
connect.
I
connect.
think
Yes.
that we can go deeper with music, and I'm very passionate about music, and I'm gonna leave that behind me. But
Yeah, because this is not about music
Yeah,
today.
for sure.
but if you see it like
Uh-huh.
in an orchestra or in a band or anything, everybody have a place, and everybody needs to know that place, because we have that misconcept of freedom, that freedom means that you can do whatever you want. But if you do whatever you want, anything is going to sound good. So when you have that guidelines, and you know what you have to do, and you know that you have to do it because when you do it well, the other person also, it is going to be benefit as you. That's a perfect example of what a society is. And I think that you can see it through music. There is a lot of examples that you can do, but I always see that in music it is beautiful that when everybody's doing what they're supposed to do at the same time, music comes and it's
Yes.
magic. Yeah.
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 Different instruments, different rhythms,
Hmm.
but it all comes together, right, to make a beautiful sound.
And if you put that with races, it is the same.
Yeah. Culture. Yeah.
With that, we are going to start, Xiomara. I know that you have a question on the tongue right now.
Tell us, I see you as representing me, representing us, the Latino community. Now you have a place in the city of Hillsboro.
Mhm.
You're one of the council members.
Yes.
And I would like for our listeners, our community out there to know, what is it like to be there?
Be at the city council.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's unique to the city of Hillsboro how our city council is organized. So we have a city council, city manager kind of relationship where the city manager is actually the administrator and sees the day to day and implementation of policy, where the city council is more setting the direction, setting the policy. So we pass things like ordinances, we approve zone changes, all the way to appointing people on different committees and a number of other things, right? You have other city councils throughout, even Oregon, where they have a full salary, they have a whole staff, they have an office, they have a budget, and they can do a lot more things. But specific to the city of Hillsborough, we're actually volunteers, and so we get a stipend to cover some of the costs that we have. When we go out to meetings, galas, presentations, but we rely a lot on our staff. They're really the experts in how to do the work, and we actually end up taking a lot of recommendations from the staff on what to do next. And so I hope that answers a little bit
Wow,
about
so
the
this is
questions.
important because people out there think that everyone that sits there, it's getting paid.
Yeah.
No, it is getting rich.
Yeah, yeah, that's the other thing. It's
Yeah.
getting rich, and right now, I don't know if in past meetings, you guys have been staying up until like 11
Yeah.
p.m. or midnight.
Yeah.
Like in the past few Tuesdays,
Yes.
because of ICE and everything that it's happening in the city of Hillsboro. But that's a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
to the meetings and I've listened to you and the other council there, and it's like, wow, to just be there and do your proposals and talk and just have an input. It's a lot
Yeah.
of thought, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And now you're describing us that you're not getting paid.
No, it's well, and I mean, we do get a stipend, like I said,
Mhm,
to cover
mhm.
costs, because you obviously go to meetings, you go to events, you're paying for parking, you're paying for all these different
Yeah.
things, but you still have a lot of power as a city councilor, right? You get to vote and approve. So on a normal city council meeting, we're, voting on whether we're going to fund an infrastructure project or change an ordinance or rezone or annex, a number of things. But obviously, we have situations like what's going on now where we hear from the public what's causing them pain and what issues they have in the community, right? In this situation, it's immigration enforcement, ICE, and so we have to pay attention to that, right? And so that's where I like to say to people, this is what we signed up for, essentially, right? Because we want to be here to represent community whenever we need to represent community. Well, it's not every meeting every day, but right now it's a very unique situation where we do have to do extra work, and it's not a burden, right? To stay
Mhm.
to 11 midnight, I think that's part of the work. Um, but it is definitely a challenge because if you're not passionate about a certain subject or something that's going on in your community, it could be a burden, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, no, this is important. We could stay here for 48 hours and talk about this until we figure it out, right? And so that's where it becomes a challenge. Is that where there's something really important that needs more attention, you have to be mindful of everybody's time and commitment and what they're
Did
giving
you
back.
ever think that we were gonna come to a point like this in our city to be
Um,
this painful per se? I feel pain.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I did expect it, especially with this new administration. I mean, something that I personally experienced during the last administration is more overt racism, right? More
Mm,
people being out loud about their racism. It kind of people are emboldened to act out
mhm.
because the way that our president is acting, right? So I remember one time I was at a drive-through during the first administration, and it was dumb. It was like a free ice cream day at Dairy Queen, and so everybody's there, and we get cut off in the drive-through line, and I'm just sitting here talking to my wife, and I'm very animated when I talk sometimes, so I'm like, "Arms," and so this person thought I was complaining about them cutting off, but really I'm not the type to get upset about somebody cutting me off, right? And so I hear somebody say, "Go back to your country," and I was like, What's going on here?" And I rolled my window down. I was like, "Are you talking to me?" And they're like, "Yeah, go back to your country." And they pulled their taser out and they flashed it at me.
Oh
And
my
I was
God.
like, and this was in 2016, 2017 that this
Oh
happened,
wow.
right?
Wow.
So that's just one example of many things that you saw happening during the first administration, because it's just, I don't know what it is, right? People just feel more emboldened to kind of
Go
be outwardly
against
That's
that.
racist. And so I expected it to happen this time around. And you are seeing it more online. People are more open about it. But specifically with immigration enforcement, the way that the rhetoric coming out of the White House,
hmm I
and
think I think that that's also planned
yeah,
because out of the chaos, the only thing that they get is power.
yeah,
Because we are getting less and less power. Or at least that's how we feel, because we feel powerless at all what we've seen. And then I have a question. I have to go back to the town halls that we were holding
yeah,
a couple of weeks ago. We have heard all kind of testimonies there. Uh, I was going to be like, if I were you, I want to be crying by 1 hour. Yeah, like you heard everything there, and my question is that actually helping, like these people go sit down, tell everything, it's just for release some tension, or is actually helping the consuls and the mayor to actually pass some laws? And if it's that true, can you give us an example of how a person goes there, give a testimony, and it change a law?
yeah. So, I mean, whether it's helpful or not, I personally think it is helpful to speak up and share what you're living and experiencing.
Hmm.
What's not helpful is that people might have expectations of the city council that might not be accurate, right? So, immigration laws and reform fall under federal government. The city council can't do much to change immigration laws. So, I think it's good that that people speak up and share their experiences so that we're aware that people are living through it. I mean, honestly, I didn't have to hear stories to know what's
To believe
happening.
it.
Yeah.
Like I have a family thread, and
If you have Facebook
I
these
got
days,
I got
yeah.
the messages,
Yeah.
like, hey, do I need to take my passport when I go to Portland? Hey, my son
Salem.
my son is
Sorry.
crying because he's scared to go to school. So those are
Hmm.
stories that I hear because I'm still
Yes.
connected to the immigrant community. I mean, I'm an immigrant myself, right? So like once you become a citizen, you don't just stop talking to other people in your community, right? So it's like all these
I'm
stuff.
sorry.
Yeah,
What you say?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I got my papers. No hablo español. Yeah, that's all English. No, so it's like for me, it wasn't. I mean, it was very sad, and it was hard not to cry up there, honestly, especially to hear the experiences of people that are personally dealing with it, because you know what that feels like. Um, and so it's helpful to raise your voice. I think it's also very helpful to understand the limits of your city council and also look for partnership with city council, right? Rather than look at
A
him as
saver,
an
like,
adversary
yeah.
or a savior. It's like, hey, work with us to find a solution, right? Because even though we might not be able to change anything when it comes to the law, we can do things like the proposal and I can get into that later, but
Yeah.
we can partner to advocate to the state. We can partner to go advocate to our federal representation, right? There's things that we can partner on with community to go and elevate the voice of the experience. So yes and no. So yes, it helps,
Yeah.
but as long as you have your expectations
Okay.
right, because you don't
Yes.
want people to come in thinking that we can change things that we really can't, and because that's also, being volunteers. We're like, well, I wish I could spend more time doing this, right? But we
Mhm.
also have
Yeah. Life.
Family,
life and
life,
families,
bills.
and I mean, I don't know how many people I'm talking to, just on my cell phone, through social media, of people that are dealing with these things on a day-to-day
Mhm.
basis, right? So
Mhm.
I'm not just hearing it from the council, I'm hearing it from people that I personally
Yeah.
know that are looking like,
And
hey,
that
Christian,
frustration of
yeah, like,
being
because
like cannot help.
yeah, because if you're like somebody in the Spanish speaking community that is like bilingual, knows how to work through systems or navigate systems, and you help a few people, the word gets around like, hey, call Christian. He might be able to help you. He might be able to connect you to an immigration lawyer. He might be able to find resources,
Mhm.
all these things. So it's something that I'm,
So it's important
Yeah.
to know that when federal law is involved, there's very minimum that you guys can do. But on another level, just in general, it's important to know that our voice matters when it comes to city things that
yeah,
are happening,
sure.
correct? And that's something that, I mean, based on how long have you been in the as a
I
councilor?
just got appointed in January.
In
So I'm
January.
brand new. Yeah.
So you haven't seen much activity. Were you going to the meetings before?
I would watch them online. I'd
Okay.
go to meetings here and there. I
Were you
actually,
seeing a lot of activities from the Latinos? Because that's something I don't see
yeah,
much often. So,
like,
What
like
is the
as
like,
outreach?
as
I suppose like.
Latinos, we're not
yeah,
there to say, "Hey, I don't want
Mhm.
this school to be divided," or to build another school, and that one is just gonna be for the white kids because this one is going to be for the Latino community.
yeah.
That's something that happened many years ago in
Did it?
Cornelius.
Oh wow. Okay.
And the only person advocating for that was a Caucasian.
Hmm.
Not a single Latino member was there, and it was about um, dividing the community.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I wasn't around. I'd be interested to learn more
Hmm.
offline about that because that sounds really
But
interesting.
back in the day, this was like 13 years ago. But what I'm trying to ask is there more involvement now with the Latinos in the meetings? Because that's something I would like the people to know. You can go to these meetings and
Yeah.
speak up.
Yeah, I mean, I think we try to be as equitable as possible in outreach. We have a full-time bilingual person on the communications team. We have both an English and a Spanish newsletter. We have an English and Spanish social media channel. We have partnerships with like the chamber. They have the Latino Business Council, and then Centro Cultural, and I think Adelante. There's a couple of other organizations, and so we expect that when we partner with them on something or push something out, that they also reach out to their community, right?
Hmm.
But we also have that direct communication through the website, through social media in Spanish and English. And so, yeah, I mean, I would encourage anybody to reach out. And it's not just public comment. They don't have to show up. I mean, because I know how life is. You work, you have kids, you're cooking dinner around 6 or 7. You don't really want to go down to Civic Hall.
Yeah.
You can do it online or you can write an email. If anybody feels so inclined, I'm more than willing to give my cell phone number, if it's something that they want to do more privately. And so, yeah, I would just encourage people to engage as much as you can with your city, and speak up whenever you feel like there's something that concerns you in the community. Maybe it might not fall within the city jurisdiction or the scope of what the city's doing, but somebody will point you in the right direction at least. We have our city recorder and our team there that works with the city manager that does a really good job of responding to emails. So even if it's something that's not related to the city or that's something that the city does, they do a very good job of pointing them in the right direction and really raising the awareness about where they need to go for their concerns, right?
So I have a quick question before we go to. I want to talk a little bit about your proposal.
Yes.
But I have a quick question before, and this is related to like almost everybody who emigrate from, especially from Latin America. We have been like escaping from countries that actually don't respect law, and we don't feel safe,
Yeah.
right? And then we came here with the hope that here we will find some sort of like, oh,
Peace.
yeah, it is like we all have this idea that in United States all the laws are respected, and then we are seeing all what's happening right now.
Yeah.
So I know that you are right now not representing the city, but this is a question that everybody have.
Yeah.
So if there is a person who comes out of a car that is unmarked, that it hasn't had plate, that it has not identification badge or any sort of identification, is masked and push people inside that van, everybody will think that that's a kidnapping.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm doing, what is the difference between me and anybody else doing it, and why is not the police acting?
Yeah. First off, I don't recommend you doing that, by the way. If people see that happening, definitely call 911. Our police will respond to that call and make sure that nobody's being kidnapped. And I mean that, like, call 911 if you really see that happening. Um, I think that's part of what we're hearing from uh, just legal opinions, I would say, around this is that the way that these federal agents are able to do those sort of things is, the law allows them to do things that are outside of the law if they're in an operation or they're pursuing somebody.
But
But
it should be an institution that like oversees them.
yep, and that's why I think my proposal, as I mentioned earlier, the city can't do much when it comes to federal immigration law or any federal law. But what I believe is happening right now that a lot of people are concerned about is exactly what you're describing, right? You're having situations where people are not identifying themselves. It's not easily like the public can't easily figure out what agency or if it is a law enforcement person. You hear stories about people taking advantage of this situation and actually going and kidnapping people. And there was a story, I can't remember if it was Texas or California, where they did this to a woman and they ended up violating her and then released her, right? And she thought it was
I
immigration enforcement.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So that's why, the reason why I think my proposal is going to be effective is because it does a number of things, right? Even though we hear these things about how they're able to operate and why they're able to operate, there's this thing called the Constitution, right? Which is the Constitution is essentially the social contract we all abide by to kind of live together, and it's also meant to detail out what uh, the government can't do to people. So it's almost the way that I look at it is like it's the parameters and limits of the government.
Yeah,
Right?
because when I see the constitution of this country, you can see that it's more like a wall between the federal government and the people. Like
Yeah.
it is supposed to be the power of the people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and so I think I think ideally that's the purpose behind it, right? And so that's why I think with setting up a Office of Civil and Human Rights and having somebody that's vetted by the city who is a professional, is going to take their job seriously, that we collect incidents where these federal agents are violating constitutional rights. I really think that's where
We need to
the power of
document
the
all of
people
that.
is really comes into play, because that's what gives us that power is like
yeah.
the Constitution, right? And so it's not necessarily something that's going to be a quick fix overnight, but I believe that if the city invests in that office and has a recorder and says, here's our plan, what we're going to do with this information, we're going to inform and we're going to shape future federal policy, and maybe down the line somebody might want to take action or maybe sue the agency. I mean, those are things that people
And everybody
can do and
involved
have
in
done
it.
in the past. And
And I
so,
think that's the why they don't identify themselves. Like if you see a police
Yeah,
of
they
the
don't want to
city,
be sued.
yeah,
It's not that
they
they don't
have to
want to
give
be
you the
killed.
name and badge.
yeah,
And if they like overpower it and or do something that is illegal, you can sue them, and you're gonna know exactly who were.
yeah.
And that's why I believe that they don't identify themselves because they don't want the consequences.
Because they
Yeah.
know they're doing the
Yeah.
wrong
Yeah,
thing.
there's a code. I think it's like 18 U.S. code. I don't know where it falls under, but it does say that federal agents have to identify themselves when they arrest somebody, or
Yeah.
or when they're doing a mission. I don't know what they call mission or operations or whatever. But I think that's what concerns people, right? Because you have people that come from Latin American countries where that's very well something that happens, right? Just masked men show up, take you.
My country is like I have experienced, let's say,
Yeah.
some kind of violence that this reminds me that.
Yeah.
By la
And
guerrilla.
no, not
Right?
la guerrilla. Venezuela is like the government basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is difficult. And can you explain us a little bit how your proposal with the Human Rights Department it works?
Yeah, so essentially, it's two parts, right? Number one is setting up an office that has somebody that leads the office, somebody that collects information from legal observers, and if we have the money, even hire legal observers. Somebody that is a navigator for people when they reach out to the city for resources, because I know people that are very well, they can navigate the internet and different systems easily, and they've been in a situation where they've had to help a family or their neighbor because their family was detained, and they look for attorneys, they look for services, and it's really hard for them to find them, right? So I feel like since the city is a central hub for 110,000 people, having somebody at the city that can either navigate people or list the resources that we have in the community on the website, I think it would take a lot of stress off a lot of people, right? It's also not about fixing the issue, it's also about how to make it easier for people to get the resources. And then the third would be a dedicated emergency fund grant manager, with the caveat that we would find money to put into this fund, right, to help people with a number of different things. But I think the most important thing is the data recording and the connection to the legal observers that are out in the community, because I think that is really going to influence how the federal agencies do their job. I really do. I mean, you can't predict the future. I don't have a magic 8 ball or anything, but
Yeah.
but if the city's invested in it and we're saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, then I feel like it's gonna influence it, because yeah, I don't think it can go on the way that it's going.
Yeah.
I don't think it can keep going the same way.
I don't think that
And,
too.
and
Like
Yeah.
they can't just walk away and not pay for
Yeah.
what they're doing.
One of the
I
things,
just-
one of the things that I watched because I like to stay informed on this topic, right? And I heard I forgot his title. Is he the border czar, Tom Homan? Border
Mhm.
czar? He's the
Yeah.
border
the
czar.
borders are, yeah.
Somebody asked him, he was being interviewed, and they asked him, like, why are they allowed to cover their faces? Because there's this code, U.S. code, saying that, they have to be identifiable, they have to wear a badge. And essentially what he said is, there's been attempts out there to kind of dox agents where, people put out their information, like where they live, who they are, and then people show up to their homes and like throw trash on their lawn, or they threaten them, but nothing has actually physically happened to them. So they use that to say, well, we need to cover our faces so that we can protect our
But
identity.
they use that rhetoric even before that happened. Like
Yeah.
they are using it from since day one they start this.
Yeah.
Like if you tell me that I don't know 100 agents were in danger and they need to put that on place,
Well, if they were doing the right if they
Yeah.
were using the right procedures, I don't think
Yeah, well,
nothing will be happening to
yeah,
them. But
the-
if you're kidnapping people and
Yeah.
treating them like
breaking cars,
like animals
Yeah.
and in front of kids, and then obviously if something happens to them, then
there's other agencies and our Hillsboro Police Department that are doing very dangerous work, right? And they don't
Yeah,
get to cover their faces
exactly.
because they know what they signed up for. So, you know, and so that's the lawlessness piece that you talked about earlier. It's like, well, they're able to use this excuse, but there's other agencies that are performing just as dangerous work with their face out in the open,
They're
right? So,
doing worse.
so it's like
I
you're
mean,
causing
more
this
dangerous.
panic. I mean, when you get to a point where you're scaring kids where they don't want to go to school, I think that's where you have to seriously take a look at it and be like, well, actually, is this really worth it? You know, and the way that this administration has been going, they have somebody in the White House that's clearly a racist, right? And so for them, they'd probably be like, well, yeah, it's worth it because they're immigrant kids and we don't want them in school anyways, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But, you know, for people that really value the country and the Constitution, I think, you know, going back to how we started about being immigrants and Latinos, I think that's one of the things that, you know, we value more than, like, people have kind of taken this for granted that have been born here, like this idea of the Constitution
Yes.
and the protections from the government, right? And so people like you that have had that experience in your home country, and you and us that come as immigrants understand that there's real value in those words, right? In that document. And so I think that's one of the things we're, you know, thinking about, you know, talking about, well, we're also looking into the future. It's like, well, this is what we need to preserve because we know how important it is to have
We
this
need
kind
to
of
preserve
protection.
it and fight for it because right
Yeah.
now it's kind of like, okay, where are my rights? Where is the Constitution and all
Yeah.
of this?
And if we don't share values, we are not going to be able to live in the same house. Like if you have the values to, you know, uh, treat bad other people, and then I have the values of treat well other people, we're not going to be able to live in the same house. And I think that that's one thing that the Constitution gives you, like a guidance of everybody and kind of know what is overall the culture of the country. And then there are like a smallest and the smallest culture, but we can kind of have the same language that
Yeah.
we share, right? And then I have another question about the camera. So when you stop the camera, so can you explain us a little bit how those cameras worked
Yeah.
and how it was that?
Yeah. So before I go, I just want to mention, I think the last report I read about, you know, the violation of constitutional rights, but it's for 127 citizens have been apprehended. One specific story that's been getting a lot of attention is an actual war veteran. He was detained for 3 days. He showed his military ID to these people, and they said, "We don't believe you."
It's
You know,
fake.
so it's a slippery slope. It's something that everybody should care about, even if you know you don't believe that immigrants have a right to be here or create a life here. I think this is something that people should care about. You
Yeah.
know, across the board, people should care
Where is
about
it
these
going to
actions.
go?
Yeah,
Like, if we allow that to keep going, where is
yeah,
it going to go after they get all the immigrants they want? What is next?
yeah,
Who is going to be next?
exactly.
If they don't have and stop, where is it going to go? That's my real
There are
concern.
cases
Yeah.
where the same person has been stopped like 3 times. And
Yeah.
it's like, what do you want from me? You stopped me twice already. I already told you who I am.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it's different
Citizens.
agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you know, they got $78 billion for ICE, which is a little bit more than I think the Marines, are a little bit less. But I mean, they can afford uniforms, right? They can afford cars. They can afford all these things that we're talking about that they need. But
Yeah.
anyways, you had a question about the license plate readers?
The license plate reader, yes,
Yeah.
that is LPR, yeah.
Yeah, the license plate readers. We had this conversation in the last work session, and according to our police chief, the license plate reader technology that we utilize at the city of Hillsboro, number one, it's been paused because they need to really research and see where that data is going. But from his understanding, that data was not shared with any sort of immigration enforcement or federal agency.
Is that managed by a third party or is that managed by the city?
Yep, it's the data is managed by a third party, I believe. But it's there's a lot of legal contract language that's
Mhm.
supposed to prohibit people. But right now we're in an age where data
Yeah.
is valuable,
Data
right? So
is-
data is very valuable. So you have like organizations that are buying data from like DMV and selling it, right?
Mhm.
But one of the things that one of the original reasons why the city adopted license plate readers or automatic license plate readers is there was this thing happening a few years ago where they were doing organized retail theft. Have you heard of organized retail theft?
No. Can you explain
So
that?
essentially, a group of people, I don't know how many people, 10 to 20 people would show up at a store like Target,
Mhm.
and then everybody would kind of just create chaos, right? And grab as many
Okay.
things as they can.
So they
Because the
go-
idea is like one security guard's not going to stop everybody, so they would do this. And so they got these license plate readers so that they could detect
where they go.
where they go. It also helps with if there's ever a situation where there's a missing child or a missing person and they're looking for a car. You've gotten the Amber Alerts where it says the license plate so and so, and so there's supposed to be there's a good reason for them, right? But at the same time, like, are they being used in a legal way where
Mhm.
Or are they sharing
where it
information
protects
with
people's
Yeah.
privacy, right?
Yeah.
That Fourth Amendment of the
Who
Constitution.
else is seeing that? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And are they using it for good reason? Right.
That's a real
So
question.
it's paused right now. From the last message I received, it's paused until they can fully investigate
Okay.
what's being done with this data that's being collected.
Other question that is out there is what is the limits and in limit law? I know that you are probably not a lawyer.
Yeah.
But what are the limits of the sanctuary city law? Because I think a lot of people was expecting that, like, oh, we're living in sanctuary city and we are not supposed to be going through all of this. So what are the actual limits? What is it means for people?
Yeah, so from my understanding, the Oregon sanctuary law is what it really does is just prohibit the use of state resources and local resources for immigration enforcement,
Okay.
right? And so this would prohibit like a police officer from asking somebody if they're legal immigrant, or it would prohibit them from arresting somebody because they think they're undocumented and then taking them, right? It also so any resource, any money, any time cannot be used to enforce immigration law. And the reason why this law is intact is um, people are afraid, undocumented people are afraid to report crimes.
Yeah.
The undocumented community is actually one of the most highly victimized communities because people want to take it. People know that they can take advantage of them because they won't go and report things to the police, right? So the idea behind this law is like you make it safe for them to report. And also we got to recognize that there's people in law enforcement that are anti-immigrant in a way, right? And so if this law wasn't in place, they could easily use their time to pursue their own interest in reporting somebody who might be undocumented or do things with on their police time to do
Their
immigration law, right?
Yeah.
And so there is that law is there, but there are times where there is cooperation. So they have like joint partnerships between like state police, local police, federal police. Sometimes there are those joint partnerships, but those have to be, I think, officially like agreed on. So it's not something that happens sporadically, but there is some sort of coordination on other things, right?
So it means that the federal cannot use the resources of the city, basically.
Yeah, they could put like a
For
task
the
force
state.
together. Yeah.
Is there a difference between
But
the
it has to be
state
approved. Yeah.
being a sanctuary state and the city being a sanctuary city? Because I was listening to the meeting, the council meeting in Salem, and they were asking for the Salem to become a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
So apparently they're not, even though the state is a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
Or sanctuary state.
So a lawyer would know the nuances to this, but the high level answer or the answer that I can provide is if it's state law, then it covers the city. But
I guess they're like.
But there's other
minor.
things that and I don't really know these details, right? But you can define certain things within local jurisdiction that are a little bit different than the state. So there are some differences, but really the state, just like the supremacy clause with law enforcement, like any state law really covers every city,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Do you feel like our city is more active with the community, with everything that it's happening, than Portland or Salem or other cities out there right now that are more involved in or that have more ICE activity?
as far as like the city of Hillsboro being involved,
Correct. With the community, as I know that there's not much, that
yeah,
they can do because of federal law and all
yeah.
of that stuff. But what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak about other cities and what they're doing, but I know the city of Hillsboro is doing as much as they can. Right? There's a lot of partnerships with the chamber, Eminent Marketplace, to really get out there and share the resources and kind of elevate the small businesses.
Hmm.
I definitely feel like we can do more. Right? But I
Let's
can't
do it.
I can't compare what other cities are doing, but I think there's definitely, and I think we have to create that foundation with that Office of Civil and Human Rights.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so, it's going to be a challenge to get that through,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to keep pursuing it. And I hope that, I can find, like, all of the council cares about our community, right? We just have a different idea of how to approach it. And so I feel really strongly that my solution is obviously not going to fix the problem, but it's going to do something that's a little bit more than what we're doing now. And it's going to create a foundation to continue the work. So I'm going to continue pursuing it. And hopefully I can convince a couple of more counselors to join me.
Thank you
Uh,
for all the work that you have been doing it, and I've been following the lately the meetings, and there are a lot of nuances there that still needs to be discussed, and uh, but it is a lot that that is
Yeah.
happening right
It's a
now.
lot of
Yeah,
work, a lot
it
of
is a lot of, yeah,
tension,
yeah. It
and
requires a lot
Yeah.
of attention to detail, as you say, and
thank you.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
share your social media. So if people that are like in the limbo, because we see the social media and they're always blaming somebody out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for my perspective, I can say the city of Hillsboro, the leaders out there are doing much more than other places.
Yeah. And
And that makes me happy
yeah.
seeing our people moving things around
And
and
showing yourself in places, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
mhm.
That's what means a lot for people. Like the other day, the mayor was here talking with a lot of
The
people doing
Senator
the
Solman
Yeah.
and
so
everybody's
I
trying to
think
do
I think
Yeah.
that,
something.
that
So
that's a lot. That in
Yeah.
these moments, that's a lot.
Very involved. And like I said, everybody cares, right? And I think part of it is either people are have a family member that's immigrated here, or we have immigrants that work within the city. You have people on the council that are immigrants, right? And so we understand that real life experience. I don't post as much as I should on social media. I actually need to do better of that. But on Instagram, you can follow Grow with Christian, and I can share that with you. And on Facebook, I have an English and a Spanish. It's Councilor Christian Salgado, City of Hillsboro, and then Concejal Christian Salgado, Ciudad de Hillsboro. And I don't have a TikTok yet. I am on X. I will get a TikTok. I'll get on X. And then I'll say one more thing outside of what the city's doing. I'm personally working with other groups to organize a rally at the state capitol because I believe that the state can do more than the cities can do. So
Hmm.
I'll share that information with you. And
Please,
anybody who's listening that wants to join in,
please.
we're aiming to somewhere around January when the state is back in session. They have legislative days where they go in and they choose what committees they're going to serve on. So there'll be some people in the building. We are organizing with some universities across the state of Oregon, and then we're talking to other groups that have some organizing. They're already doing some organizing around the state, right? And so we're trying to bring everybody together and show up to the state capitol so that our legislatures can see how much people care about this, how many people care about this, and just like having the room filled with people at the city council meeting really moved us to do something.
mhm.
We're hoping that if we show out at the state capitol and just show how much people want to
Yeah.
see a change or some improvement, that'll move the state to actually make some changes or try to do something outside of the norm to actually really bring some relief to these communities.
Send us the date. As soon
Well,
as possible, so
once we pin it down,
we can put it on the calendar.
Is your proposal in Spanish?
I can write it in Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can share it,
Okay.
correct? Okay, so we'll put it under this video or the YouTube video.
Yeah, just give me a few days to translate, and we'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll share it so you can read all about the proposal that Christian has for the city of Hillsboro.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I think it's a very important proposal. I think that's something that I haven't seen in the cities. That having a Department of Human Rights, that's mostly something that you see like a country levels and not city levels, and that's a very interesting proposal. And hopefully that everything goes through. We continue with you trying to get that word out,
Yeah.
and I want to have you a very last question, and it is Manny was the other day a chamaquito with 17 years old.
Yeah.
He was he put his heart out there, and he was talking for everybody, for all the kids that like him are afraid. Can you tell a message to all those kids that right now are still afraid because of dad or mom cannot come back someday?
Yeah, I will just. I mean, I think Manny said it better than I can, right? And he said, "God is with us. Don't lose the faith." And I think that's something that we should all really believe, that we're meant to be here, that we should be here, and that one way or another, God's going to make a way for us to stay here, right? And I think that's something that we all should hold on to, because we need to be hopeful in this time. It's really easy to get consumed by
Mhm.
the nonstop reels on social media, right? The news, the stories, the heartbreaking stories, and so just stay hopeful. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there are people working, trying to make this change, right? And I think that right now, the current condition, it's almost like a litmus test for the country, right? About where people are. This country is going to get more diverse than it is, right? It's going to get more diverse. And so people need to realize that, we're here to stay.
We're not a minority anymore. We're not a minority.
we're here to
No.
stay.
No,
Yep. So with that, thank you so much for being with us.
no, thank
It
you for
is a
having me.
pleasure. There's a lot of question for a second conversation that we
Yeah.
can have. But
Thank you,
yeah, it was a
Christian. Do
pleasure.
you want to say something in Spanish for the community?
Sí, a ver si me sale. So, no, nomás les quiero decir que en la ciudad de Hillsboro, apreciamos y valoramos la presencia de nuestra comunidad inmigrante, y les quiero pedir que pues, se involucren más en la política local, que alcen su voz, lleguen a las reuniones del concejal, mándenos mensajes, email, lo que sea. La verdad, su voz es importante, y si no habla, no se escucha, ¿verdad? Entonces, para poder no vernos, lo tenemos que escuchar.
Gracias.
Gracias. Entonces,
Hasta la próxima.
próxima.
Thank you,
How do I
Christian.
do for my